Hello and welcome everyone to the world-famous Daytona Beach, Florida in the United States for the Formula One Rolex Daytona Grand Prix of 2022 at none other than the Daytona International Speedway for round one of the FIA Formula One World Championship. Daytona, of course, is no stranger to sunshine or the magnificence of motorsports, as the first race held at the Speedway was the 1959 Daytona 500, with the foundations of American stock car racing as a whole laying on these very beaches. The Speedway itself measures nearly 1 mile, and when building the track, developers had to take into account the curvature of the Earth. Just something you got to do when you're building one of the world centers of racing and one of America's greatest racing icons. And of course, the road course layout that we'll be running here today has just as much history as the high banks themselves, thanks to the famous Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. And we'll be running those same 12 turns here today for what should be a historically epic race. We'll check out the tire compound selections that are available here today. Of course, we've got the C5, C4, and C3, the soft reds that will give you that speed. You've got the balanced yellow mediums and the long-lasting hard tires in white. Strategy, as always, will be a fun thing to keep an eye on, but now we'll head over to the starting grid, and a man who is no stranger to starting on pole, that would be Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes, collects himself another one, and he'll have Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari on his outside, with Max Verstappen in the Red Bull starting in third, and new man at Mercedes, George Russell, will be parking that thing in the fourth grid spot to start. Then we've got Carlos Sainz in fifth in the Ferrari, and Lando Norris in sixth with his McLaren. Then for the fourth row, we've got Sergio Perez in the Red Bull and Daniel Ricciardo in his McLaren. And rounding off the starting top 10, you have Valtteri Bottas in the Alfa Romeo and Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin. Starting his Alpine in 11th will be Fernando Alonso, with Sebastian Vettel in 12th in the Aston Martin. Then down to the next row, we have Pierre Gasly in 13th in that AlphaTauri, and Alexander Albon on the outside of him in 14th in the Williams, with Mick Schumacher in 15th in his Haas, and Yuki Tsunoda in 16th in the AlphaTauri. Nicholas Latifi is in 17th in his Williams, and Esteban Ocon will be in the Alpine in 18th. And on the last row, we have Guan Yu Zhou in 19th and Pietro Fittipaldi running out the grid in 20th. As the sun begins to set, the lights are coming on in more ways than one, and out they go, and away we go here at the Daytona International Speedway. Charles Leclerc has gotten a lightning start here. He's going to take that green flag away from Lewis Hamilton in the side-by-side Mercedes now, as George Russell is up to third. They're going to race him down into turn one. Leclerc goes a little bit wide. He leaves a hole for Lewis Hamilton on the inside. Can Lewis get there? No, he cannot. He's going to have to fall back in line here for turn 2 and 3, and Leclerc has put himself in a beautiful position to start this race with just a masterful start. Checking back on the pack now, we have the fellow Ferrari of Carlos Sainz racing out of the horseshoe, battling with a couple of McLarens as they race down through turn 4, looking for a way by, but not quite going to get one. Either way, these cars will look stunning racing into turn 5. Just barreling out of the high banks here in the final corner, what is often called a calamity corner, looking to complete the first lap. Leclerc protecting against Lewis Hamilton, who's looking for that lead. They're going to be side by side in the tri-oval. Leclerc will barely hold on to his lead at the line as they are keeping it wheel to wheel right down into the first corner. Lewis Hamilton sending it in on the inside. Can Charles Leclerc hold strong on the outside? Yes, he does. Battling back, and he's going to get the inside for the horseshoe now, as we have got some fantastic racing for the lead going on in the infield of Daytona. Still, Leclerc cannot clear that wing of Lewis Hamilton, and they are going to maintain the side-by-side action through turn 4. Down into turn 5 now. Lewis is going to look ahead for just a minute, but Leclerc fighting back on that inside will be able to fight off the attack of Lewis Hamilton and put him away. Sainz still seeing a sea of orange out of his visor, and he sees the opportunity he wanted, and he's going to take it. He's going to try Lando Norris here for the 6th position as they race onto the banking. That transition might give him just enough of a boost to get by, and he will. What a beautiful pass. 5 laps in here at Daytona, and already there's been plenty of action up front, and even in the middle of the pack here, we've got Mick Schumacher going past Alex Albon for that 15th position. That Haas looking a little whiter than usual, but looking like it's going to get through in turn 2. Yes, indeed. Keeping our eyes on Mick in the Haas back here. You can see he's already working on Yuki Tsunoda in the AlphaTauri. Can he get a look on the exit of the horseshoe? It sure looks like he will, and they're going to be side-by-side racing through turn 4. Can they hold it through there? Of course, that is not a very wide section of the track. A little bit of the curb being used, and the bottom being used to mix advantage beautifully. He's going to go right on through, just picking him up and putting him down right now. Look at this absolute logjam of leaders racing down into turn one, looking kind of like a NASCAR pack as Verstappen is going to send it underneath Russell, who thought about 3 wide, but not before he had that last podium place snatched from him, and Leclerc lays down the fastest lap, which how could he not if he's got Lewis Hamilton battling him and a Red Bull waiting in the wings for him now. On board with Sebastian Vettel racing down the Daytona backstretch, looking for that bus stop chicane underneath Sergio Perez's Red Bull, trying to get that 8th place position, dipping a couple of wheels through the grass, maintaining control and maintaining the momentum. He is going to get that pass completed as they roll onto the banking, put Sebastian Vettel up to 8th. The pack of leaders at the front of this race continuing to look ridiculous as they're going to race by the super stretch and down into turn one while not giving an inch to anybody. They're still wheel to wheel with a 4-way battle for first and another battle just behind them. Nobody giving way whatsoever as they race into the horseshoe side by side. Once again, Hamilton this time, though, grabs that inside line, and Leclerc might be in a little bit of trouble here as far as maintaining the lead goes, unless he can really put down a masterful turn 4 right here, and Lewis gets a little squirrely going over towards the curb. Can he send it in on the inside now? Can he push Leclerc a little wide? It looks like he may have. This actually looks pretty good. After 14 laps, Leclerc will concede. New leader, Lewis Hamilton. Screaming out of the tri-oval, Sebastian Vettel looking to continue his hard charge through the field as he's going to look underneath the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz and try to put that one away out of turn 2, and he will. That's another fine addition to the collection for Sebastian Vettel, up to 6th. The Red Bull of Perez now putting it to the McLaren of Lando Norris as they race down to the horseshoe for that 8th place position. Fighting on the outside as Perez is going to give that inside of the McLaren, but put the power down. It's going to be a drag race to turn 4. And it looks like it's going to be a drag race that Perez will win as he breathes on it on the exit of the kink there. He will take that spot away from the McLaren, and it looks like he should be able to hold on to it. Racing to the completion of lap 25, almost halfway through this event. All cars have pitted so we can just enjoy the dogfight for a little while as Verstappen is still trying to find a way to the front. And Leclerc with a massive lockup, a huge one right there in turn 1. Right as he was battling underneath Hamilton for the lead. That could have been a terrible turn of events, but Hamilton holds it. Onto the backstretch, looking out the back of Lewis Hamilton at Leclerc. Leclerc looking low at the bus stop chicane. Could he have a chance here to take the lead back? He had to back out of it a little bit. Lewis Hamilton's going to hold strong on the outside. Leclerc had his shot, and he had to take it. It looks like he might have another one here. Hamilton might have had to lift on the banking, and that is going to let Leclerc look low. And there comes the Red Bull. They can get 3 wide here for the lead if we're not careful. The Red Bull of Verstappen can't quite get there, or maybe just thought better of it, knowing what happened in turn 1 on the last lap. And this is getting really close up at the front. Once again, it's going to be a pack. Rolling into turn 1 with Leclerc on the inside, and a little bit behind him, we got Sebastian Vettel now breaking into the top 5 with that pass on Ricciardo. Hamilton in hot pursuit, still looking for a way around Leclerc as we got a lap car, a Haas here. Looks like Fittipaldi's going to get in the way, and that's going to be a little contact that shoves him in front of Hamilton.
Just brake tested me.
Lewis Hamilton is not going to be happy about that one. The contact between the Haas and Leclerc acting as an accidental pick that sends Hamilton back to 3rd. And look at Sebastian Vettel now, still entrenched in battle. Looking to take on George Russell in the Mercedes, and he might have a shot here, especially with the Haas parking it right in front of George. That's going to let Vettel right on through. Somehow, some way, he's able to navigate the rolling roadblock just a little bit better. And that'll put Vettel one step closer to the podium as now the rest of the field has to find their way by the Haas, and they just might. Side by side for the lead now, racing down into the horseshoe once again as Verstappen in the Red Bulls taking a stab at that lead that Leclerc has been holding for oh so long today. But Leclerc's not going to give it up here on the inside of turn 4. With the sun beaming down right into those halos, it's amazing they can see anything at all. And Leclerc goes wide, gives up the lead to Verstappen. He goes cruising on by. Another lockup from Leclerc, and this time it really cost him. Side by side, still with plenty of fun to be had here in the late race going. Some drivers have pitted, some drivers have stayed out. Some drivers like Lando Norris are going to be looking for a few more positions. Instead, he finds Alonso, and that's into the barrier and up and over. A terrible crash for Fernando Alonso. And as we look at the replay here, unfortunately, Fernando, no stranger to horrifying flips in an F1 car, and here is just another one What a wild ride he went on. Here from the onboard shot of his own car, just rammed right in the gearbox, up and over, and halo first into that barrier. The halo doing exactly what it's meant to do. With the red flag lifted here, we're almost ready to return to racing, and the lights go out. We're away again at Daytona. Problems for Verstappen on the restart. He does not get the launch he wanted. Leclerc once again does, and he will lead them down into turn one with them side by side behind him for second, with Lewis Hamilton moving up in that Mercedes up to P2. Clears Verstappen through turn two, and now it's going to be a hunt for Leclerc. Taking a late look through the grid here, we got someone we haven't talked much about today. Lance Stroll looking around, trying to get that Aston around the Alpha of Bottas. Trying deep in turn 5, he's going to get himself passed nearly by the Tower of Yuki Tsunoda. Going to have to fight back on the inside here into the next corner, and it looks like he'll do just that with a deep send. He might get a 2-for-1 here, hold off one position and take another, and that's what he's going to do onto the banking. He rolls right past Bottas. Go ahead and give that spot to Stroll. With 2 laps to go, roaring down the backstretch is a 2-car battle for the lead, and Lewis is going to step out and look at the inside of Leclerc for the bus stop, side by side. Leclerc's going to hold him off a little bit for now, but on the exit, Lewis powers back. Hamilton's going to have the run going into the bank corners here at the end of the Speedway. It is just going to be a pure drag race, Mercedes versus Ferrari. Leclerc will get a little bit of a run off the high side of the banking. Will it be enough to lead this lap? Doesn't get any better than this. White flag, give it to Lewis Hamilton, and the fastest lap of the race. He throws it down into turn 1. Leclerc throws it down, lock up by Lewis Hamilton. Still side by side through the S's, down to the horseshoe. Nobody giving an inch. Leclerc sending it in on the inside again. Will Hamilton have it on the outside? Powered down to turn 4, still side by side. This is incredible. Finally, Leclerc has to give way. We've got action all over the track here on the last lap. Sainz trying to fight against Vettel to take that 4th place back for Ferrari. Can he do it? It's going to be a race through turn 4, side by side pretty much again. Sainz had to hold on to it right there. Looked like he had a little squirrely on the curb, but he still sends it up the inside. Vettel has nowhere to go but out wide a little bit and give up the position. That one is going to go to Carlos Sainz. Through the final corners and off the banking for the final time here at Daytona, racing to the finish. They can see the checkered flag. Charles Leclerc has one last shot at a slingshot pass. Can he make it there in time? No, he will not. And that means Lewis Hamilton will win the Daytona Grand Prix.
Get in there, Lewis. What a job, mate. What a race. Amazing.
Still got it, one up.
Yeah, not bad for no man.
Nothing better than a great finish to a fantastically exciting race, and I can't help but think that's exactly what we had here today at Daytona. As we'll take a look at the race results, and of course Lewis Hamilton once again making Formula One history with his opening round win at Daytona, with Charles Leclerc got to be heartbroken behind him in second, and Max Verstappen in the Red Bull in third. Of course, we have to shout out our driver of the day, Sebastian Vettel. He started the race 12th on the grid. He wound up in the 5th position, so that award is more than deserved if you ask me. And of course, Norris and Alonso, the only DNFs after that horror crash. Good to see they're both okay. For Mitsos, I'm Ed Soundhead. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.